another break. I don't really know what's going to happen. School has gotten in the way, like I said. Last year was easier because the school I went to was virtual. And we were only on until 12. So I could go on to 12, look at all these sports analysts, take some Colin Cowherd, obviously. He was my big guy last year. I've started to look at new guys like Jim Rome and Dan Patrick. But anyway, I get off of school, I get my info, get on the podcast. But that takes a lot, and it's a lot of work too. Not to mention, I gotta keep up with my schoolwork as well. This time we're actually doing it until 2:30. So 2:30, then you gotta. And there's things in between. You can't just I gotta do the information. Then it's things get in the way. But I'm gonna keep any chance I get. Believe me, I'll be on this podcast. And once school is over, I'll be smooth sailing in the summer. There will be no problem. Other than me being on vacation, no problem. No breaks. Alright. But back to Gore and Deron Williams. Deron Williams, some people look at this as a joke and all that, but Deron Williams actually has training in MMA. He's done that before. So he's no joke, and I don't know what Frank Gore would be, but I would not want to mess with him. You do not want to get on that guy's bad side. But on to sports that I know more about. Basketball. Steph became the oldest player to have a 50-10 game. And think about this. To think they're still without Clay, and Curry's still just getting warmed up, and they're 9-1. I think Curry's just getting warmed up. I don't think he's, at his full form yet for the season. He seems to be getting better as he's getting older. He's aging in reverse, much like Brady did. With LeBron, he's phenomenal. Top 3 player ever. Arguably the best player ever, but that's obviously a controversial debate. But he's clearly aging. 3 straight years, there's been an injury. Three of the last 4 years, there's been some sort of injury that kept him out for an extensive period of time. Last year, his ankle. 2 years before that, his groin. Kept him out for 2 months. Now he's got another problem. An abdominal strain or something. But you can see him aging. I used to think LeBron could play until he's 45. I'm cutting it back to 40 now, maybe. With all these injuries. But Steph seems to be aging in reverse, getting better as he gets older. Warriors are 9-1. They can. I think if the NBA went into the playoffs today, the Warriors would win the whole thing. They are just on fire. Alright. Moving on to another basketball. This is a basketball. I go on a streak of talking about basketball for a bit, then I go back to football, then to college basketball, then to football, back to college basketball, then to where did I go wrong? Alright, anyway. Jokic was ejected after violently shoving Morris in the final minutes of the game. None of them are right here. I'm not here to pick a side. Neither are right. It was a cheap shot by Jokic. Sorry, I always get that wrong. By Jokic, and it was a hard foul by Morris. So all I know is if there's one guy you don't want to mess with on the Nuggets, it's Nikola Jokic. You do not want to mess with him. Obviously, what are the punishments here? I think Morris is getting fined $50K, I believe. Jokic is suspended for a game. I don't know. These punishments more recently have not been the harshest. Like, the Astros were cheating definitely for 1 year and maybe for another 2 years after that. So they may have been cheating for 3 years. And they didn't get hit with much of a punishment, really, when you think about what they possibly did. And the fact that none of the players got fined or suspended for it. And it really was only like the manager got suspended a year. That's not much. Yeah, okay, so I'm reading it right here. Let's see. Morris was fined $50K for the flagrant foul. Butler was fined $30K for attempting to escalate the situation. And Jokic has been suspended for a game. Okay. That seems like... I mean, it looked like Morris died. I thought he was dead for a second. I was like... Like, when you see that shot in full motion... Because, like... You have these, like, videos where it's, like... slow motion. So, like, it's... Nikola Jokic, when Nikola Jokic, who's like 275 pounds, comes at you with a full head of steam and just nails you. And think about it, Morris is not a small guy. He went right to the ground. Like, I can't imagine if it was me who got shoved. I probably would have died. I may have gotten knocked out. You know? But, $50K fine for Morris, $30 for Butler, and a 1-game suspension for the reigning MVP. Alright. So Ja Morant and the Grizzlies came back from 15 down, and Ja is just awesome. He is going to be a legend. Like, I think he's going to be a legend. I really do. He had a great game a few days ago. He had 33, 6, and 8. It's a pretty solid performance. Where is he? Sorry, I'm trying to look at some of his stats here, and I can't, like... Oh, there he is. Yeah, 10 for 12 from the free throw line. 3 for 6 from 3. Pretty solid performance all around. And they won in overtime, so that just tops it all off. The Lakers almost blew leads to the Hornets, which is not the best thing. They just seem not to care, like, at the end of games. Melo Ball had a triple-double. He seemed to care more than them. But they are struggling. They got to get LeBron back. They are still 8th in the West, and... Carmelo may have been their biggest bright spot so far. But I think LeBron might be coming back soon. There's like one more day, and that would make it a week since he's been out with his abdominal strain. They said at least 1 week, though. And, with these injury reports, it's tough to evaluate. Because if it's 1 week, it could either be exactly 1 week, or it could be way less, or it could be much more. So, looks like we've already eliminated the option of it being way less, which leaves he's either gonna come back within the next 3 days, or within the next month. So, you might have to hit the panic button soon, Frank Vogel. No, we'll see. What happens there? Alright. So Baker and the Browns, who Jim Rome apparently refers to as America's team, they posted a very impressive performance in their first game without OBJ. And that was huge. That was a huge game to win. Against a division rival, your first game without OBJ, you got to prove yourself. Baker played very well. It was a very great performance. And they are back on track, I think. Let's see, who do they got left on their schedule here? I don't believe it's that tough. I think they have a few tough games to get through. Okay, they got the Pats this week. That could be tough, but we'll see. Got an easy one against the Lions. And a tough one, a tough back-to-back one against the Ravens. They got the Ravens in a bye week and the Ravens again. Oh, so their schedule actually gets kind of tough here. They get the Ravens back-to-back games. Then the Raiders, who are... I think the Raiders are going to kind of start to fall off a bit. I think this is their... The Raiders are going to be the same as last year. They start off hot. And then I think last week when they lost to the Giants, that was the start of a downfall for the Raiders. So I think they're gonna... That's an easy one against the Raiders after the Ravens. Then they go to the Packers. They go to Green Bay to play the Packers, who will have Aaron Rodgers by that time. So, and then they got the Steelers, probably a win there. But then they got the Bengals, who might be a tough team. So, their schedule is actually tougher than I thought. That's not an easy schedule there. Few tough matchups. But we'll see what happens. I guess it's very good that they got back on track then, because if they didn't, they would not be in a good spot right now. If they lost that game, they would be starting to have a downward spiral or whatever that's called. Another team that's on the rise is the Pats. They are 4-1 in their last 5. And think about it. The last 2 losses they've had, they've lost 4 games. They've lost games to the Bucks, Cowboys, and they lost to the, Saints and Dolphins. So, with the Saints and Dolphins, those are 2 losses that are a little tough to look at. But then, look at October, the month of October. That's where they started to catch fire. They opened with a loss to the Bucks, which is not a shock. They're the defending champs. And they lost to the 6-2 Cowboys. Other than that, wins across the board. So think about it. They've won 4 of their last 5. And the last 2 losses against the 6-2 Cowboys and the defending champs. So they're on fire right now. I think they're a playoff team that maybe wins a game. They might win a wild card. Maybe a wild card game. I highly doubt they get any... I don't think they get to the AFC Championship or anything, but I think the divisional round is their ceiling right now. They look good. And yet Belichick would probably still sit here and sound like he doesn't care with his, mumbling voice like this, 4-5, Got a matchup against the Browns. They're a winning team. It's gonna be a little tough to go through. We just got our game plan. It's gonna. But hopefully we are well prepared and we can come out with a win. Even some of what I'm saying there doesn't even sound like him. It's just he basically talks in a very mumbling voice like this. And then, He like states the